What does the world of door-to-door sales look like?
7 figures in 4 or 5 months.
7 figures?
Yeah.
No way.
Million plus, getting a 60, 70% commission at minimum.
What?
We spent the whole summer just kind of stealing the playbook, and then we launched our own.
So your gross margins are like $120 on the 135.
Yes, sir.
Oh my gosh.
We ordered chemicals, put them in my garage, and we started knocking doors. So we've turned $4,000 a piece into 1.3 million in recurring revenue as of today.
So the only experience that I have with pest control, which is your business, are the door-to-door sales guys. I have no idea how the business actually works. Tell me a little bit about you and like what a pest control company is.
Yeah, I mean, pest control is a pretty simple model. If you've ever had bugs or mice or any pests around your house, we're the guys you call. If you Google exterminator, Google pest control near me, that's what we're trying to do, is get to the top of that list. So my first experience with pest control was when I was super young, and the only time my parents said they've ever used it, my mom had just had my little sister, so I was probably 5 years old or so, and she put her in her crib, and there's some big old spider in the corner, and she said, "I'm not messing with this," and she called like Orkin or Terminix or something, one of the big brands. And that's the only experience I had with pest control until I was about 20, and then I kind of got into it through the door-to-door side. But yeah, I mean, it's just spraying for bugs, baiting and trapping for mice, and the occasional skunk or raccoon that we do.
Okay, so say those again. And what do you call them? Are they like vermints or?
There's a bunch of different categories and different licenses for different stuff. Generally, you have kind of your general category, which is just common pests, spiders, ants, cockroaches, stuff like that. And then we've got rodents, which fall under that license, just mice and rats. And then there's a wildlife license in most states for squirrels, raccoons, skunks, prairie dogs, and, burrowing pests, some of those. You can also get a termite license for those. There's soil sterilization, a mosquito license, and there's a ton of different ones. But at the end of the day, we're just killing bugs.
How did you get into it, like working in the business?
Yeah, so in 2019, I got home from my LDS mission, enrolled in college, and I was looking to just make as much money as I could as a poor college kid. And I was running track as well. So I was either going to have to get a full ride scholarship after my first year, or I was going to have to make a bunch of money because college ain't cheap. And I'm not that smart, so I didn't get academic scholarships. So I was looking at everything. I was maybe going to get my CDL and drive a truck in Idaho with my brother-in-law, do landscaping in Utah, go back home and work for my parents' business. And then my cousin hit me up and said, "Hey, I do door-to-door pest control sales. I don't know if you've heard of it." But he said, "I'm going out to Raleigh, North Carolina this year with a new company. Let's have an interview. You might be a great fit." And we chatted about it, and it's just commission-based sales. And I gave it a shot, went out there, and honestly, I didn't love it. Worked hard my first year, sold about 150 accounts during COVID in 2020, and I made, 25 grand or so. And I was like, that was awesome money in between semesters, but I was like, that was so hard, and I got told no like 8,000 times, so I wasn't going to go back. But they moved in.
5 grand in 3 months?
Yeah. And that was as a rookie. There's guys out there doing door-to-door sales making 7 figures in 4 or 5 months.
7 figures?
Yeah.
No way. But like $1 million. They're making $1 million.
Yeah, $1 million plus. Now, part of that will be their personal commissions, and then part of that is the pyramid scheme, recruiting guys under them. But no, the guys that clear 7 figures, a large percentage of that is personal commissions. The top guys are selling 1.5 million in revenue and getting a 60, 70% commission at minimum.
What? Dude,
Yeah.
This world fascinates me. So I'm LDS too, you're LDS. And it's like, when you come home from your mission, you're trying to make money. Like, oh, I have a skill set. I can go knock on doors. Oh, wait, I can sell now too? I was doing that for God. Now I can go and do this for Terminix. Great. So you see just like a ton of LDS guys after their mission go knock door to door and they can make good money. So like I've had friends who've done it. I never did it because I mean, for whatever reason, I'm just like, I can't. The only person I can go and sell for is God. However, 7 freaking figures in a summer sounds insane to me. What does the world of door-to-door sales look like?
Yeah, I mean, the daily schedule is generally you wake up, you kind of have some free time in the morning, hit the gym, eat breakfast. A lot of the sales bros are very, very self-help and,
Andy Elliott.
Yeah, and stoic and read your book and do your cold bath and go to the gym and eat your carnivore diet and all that stuff. So a lot of those guys are doing that morning routine. And then you usually have a morning meeting between 10 and noon where you get together, go over how the last day went, go over goals, blah, 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 a little bit of sales training. And then boom, on the doors, usually by noon at the latest. And you're knocking until dark or just after dark if people have their lights on. And it's just knocking doors the whole time, giving your pitch and just getting as much momentum as you can and selling, selling, selling. And then you wake up and do it again.
The ones that I've seen are pest control, obviously, windows, some roofing, alarm systems, solar. Those are the ones that am I missing any?
No, the big three are pest control, solar, and alarms. And then roofing is kind of the little brother. And then after that is like DeBella doing their windows and also roofing and some of that.
Which one's the most for a sales guy to go knock door to door? Like, which one's the most financially lucrative?
They're all at the end of the day pretty equal. It just depends on your personality. The solar and the roofing oftentimes are longer sales, very high ticket, build a relationship. You only get a few sales a week or a few sales a summer. Whereas the pest control is just grinding it out. Those top guys are getting 10 to 20 sales a day. And so it's very different, depends on your personality, how much you want to put in and just who you are. But at the end of the day, the top reps are all making very similar numbers in all the industries.
How do they marry it into a pyramid scheme?
Well, then these LDS guys that are dominating, they come home, they put it on Instagram and they say, oh, look, I made $250K in my last summer. Come and work with me. And they bring out guys and they know all their mission buddies and they say, come and do it. Come and do it. You'll do great. And then they'll get a commission off of each one of their sales.
Any guy that you recruit, essentially, you get a cut of their commission?
Yep. So, and it doesn't affect his. So if I recruited you and you came out and knocked for me, you're not going to get a pay cut. They just add me, a 5% commission. Or if I have a huge team, if I've got 20 guys that I bring out, some of those guys will be making, 18 to 25% override on each one of their reps.
And then if you're a trainer as well, right? Like if you come out and you start actually training guys, don't you get a percentage of whatever they say?
So usually, yeah. If you are a big guy and you've got your team under you, some of these companies that do just have kind of stray recruits that come in, they'll just put them on your team. And as long as you train them and help them along the summer, then yeah, they'll give you a percentage on those.
What is it about these industries that attracts people to go door to door? Is it like, I just don't know.
I mean, the solar, the roofing, those sorts of things, they're high ticket. So they can just bake that into the price, give a guy a commission and do it. For pest control, it's the recurring revenue. And so
what it means is like, why knock? Like, why aren't they going through Facebook? Why aren't they going on Google ads? Why aren't they going through mailers or whatever?
You can't beat door to door. It's a high pressure sale. A lot of the sales that we get aren't people that are like, oh, I was just going to call someone. They're like, oh, well, we just moved in. We haven't seen anything, but that sounds like a good idea as a preventative measure. Or, oh, I liked my last guy, but if you can beat the price, let's do it. Or I like him, but you sound like you're going to do a lot more. I'll spend a few extra bucks. Let's get the premium service. And so you're getting a lot of people that aren't on the fence to sign up, people that aren't going to call in, whether you mailed it to them or did a Google ad. You're going out there and a high quality sales rep is going to switch over people from other companies as well.
Yeah, because if I get a targeted Google ad or if I'm on Facebook and I see like, oh, call Terminex, it's like, okay, I'll call them later. Or, oh, I have every intention to call Terminex and then I forget about it. But if you're at the door and you're like, do you care about your kids?
Yeah, a lot of it is just educating about what we do. Because like you said, what is pest control? We come in and it's not like we're going to tent the house like in Breaking Bad and fumigate and you have to get a hotel for 3 days. Eco-friendly, super safe. We're just going to knock down the wasp nests up high, knock down the cobwebs so it's staying pretty, spray around the foundation, you're good to go. And so people are happy to do it.
So why are the commissions so good in this business model?
Because of the recurring revenue. Companies are willing to take a loss the first year, knowing that they're going to have a lifetime value of 3 to 7 years on those accounts. And
really?
So, yeah.
We're like, seriously, the lifetime value, when we can just talk pest control, right? But pest control lifetime value, they're with you for 3 to 7 years?
Yeah. And so I don't know what the proper way to determine what the true lifetime value is. We started 3 years ago. Over 50% of our customers are still with us from that first year of knocking doors. And we hear a lot of them. People will live in a house for 7 years before they move. So that sounds like what they do. The company we just acquired, they've had customers that have been with them from the beginning, 17 years now.
Yeah, the way that I typically do it is if you have a lot of data, you can say, oh, this is our average lifetime length of, I don't even know what the right term is. how long an average customer stays with us, right? I have 20 years worth of data because the business has been around for 20 years. This is how long an average customer stays with us. But as I'm getting started, usually what I do is I'll look at first the monthly churn and I'll say, oh, we churn 5% of our customers every single month. That means it's going to take 20 months before I've turned over all of my customers. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, oh, okay, that's the average duration that a customer stays with me, 20 months. And then obviously the longer you're in business, a couple of years, it's like, okay, every year, what's our churn? Then you can go that way. So then I back into what I think the lifetime value would be. So if you're at 50% and you said you're 3 years in?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you are you're on pace for like 6.5, 7 years average.
Yeah, that's what we figured, kind of baked in. I mean, last year company-wide we had an 8% cancel rate. So yeah, and they're pretty sticky customers.
Interesting. So it's almost like software as a service, SaaS, right? Where you build the product once, it's software, and then it's really high margin, but it's recurring. People are charging, every single month. In this space with pest control, it's recurring revenue in the sense that they're going to come out once a year, or is it a monthly maintenance? Like what does the actual offering look like?
Yeah, different markets, different parts of the country will have different. Down south, it is a lot of monthly services. In Colorado, we just do quarterly. And so we come out once every 3 months. We break it down to a monthly bill. So it is truly just a monthly subscription that they're on. We come out unlimited times in between for free if anything flares up. So as long as we're doing a good job, we just come out 4 times a year.
How much does that typically cost for like a once a year treatment? Or I guess the monthly fee, what does that cost?
Yeah, our average right now, and after taking over a company with kind of lower price point and blending it in, it's about $45 a month, $135 a quarter.
$135 a quarter. And what do they get for that $135?
We treat the full foundation, usually about 3 feet up, 3 feet out, all the way around, knock down cobwebs and wasp nests up to 30 feet high, treat the interior if needed and as needed, and then place down a couple bait stations, and that'll take care of the mice.
When you say treat, is that like spraying a chemical or something?
Yeah, we spray all that.
Okay, so you got a guy out there, sprays, wipes cobwebs, maybe does something inside. What is that, 20 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it really?
Yeah. And that's another reason why door-to-door is so big and so valuable for us, because route density is huge. The company we bought, old school marketing, their customers are spread out all over. We have a lot of drive time and a lot of unbilled hours. In Grand Junction, where we do door-to-door, yeah, our guys can just be on the same street. Sometimes they put less than 9 miles on the van in a whole day of working. We can knock out 20, 25 jobs in a day at $135 a piece, and minimal chemical costs. It's really high margin.
Oh my goodness. How much do you pay your guys? Like what's an average rate for, what do you call them? Are they a tech?
Yeah, technician. Our guys are, depending on how long they've been with us, $20, $25 an hour.
All right. So let's say $20 an hour. It takes them 20 minutes to spray. That's going to be a third. So you're looking at like $633 or somewhere in that ballpark of labor spend for $135.
Yeah. And then the chemicals are about $3-4.
So your gross margins are like $120 on the 135.
Yes, sir.
Oh my gosh. Is that why you pay so well to acquire customers? Because they are so profitable once they're on?
Yeah, the big marketing companies, so how we talked about, having a door-to-door team, there's whole companies that do that, and they just run ads, recruit guys, and then they just pimp their team out to whoever company is going to pay the most.
They're a sales company, essentially.
Yep, they're just a sales company. They just say, hey, I've got 20 guys that'll come out and put on $3 million in revenue for you, and we're going to charge 130% of revenue, and they'll get that. They'll get 130% of the first year contract. Market rate for a team like that is anywhere between 85 and 130%. And big companies, I can't afford that.
Sure.
Big companies, they'll pay that.
Why? Just because they know it's proven?
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty much buying a $3 million company at 1.3 times revenue. And if it's going to be high margin, years 2 through 7, you'll make your money.
Wow. Why don't more people do it then? Is there just a lot of executional risk?
Yeah. If you don't have a good service, you're going to have a really high churn rate. If the sales reps are unethical, then you run into those issues getting a bad brand. If you grow too fast, then you've got, $2 million that you have to pay out to these sales reps, and then all the vehicles you bought, new techs, and you just ramped up too fast. Now you got too much debt and you implode. So there's a lot of risk in growing that fast and pulling it off. But yeah, the bigger, more stable companies, Active, Moxie, Hawks, Fox, a lot of these that are in the tens or hundreds of $1 million range, yeah, they'll do that at a bunch of locations and just take over.
Wow. When did you know that you wanted to actually do this as a business as opposed to just sell?
During our second year, we were promised a bunch of stuff. The second year, the technicians would be better, service would be better, everything would be dialed in. We came out and right away we started knocking doors and we realized that that was all a lie. Everything was exactly like it was the year before. So my business partner, who's
Well,
my
hold on.
cousin who recruited me.
So were you working with one of these sales companies or were you working for an actual pest control company?
We were working for the pest control company just as the sales side.
Sure. Yeah.
So yeah, it was just not a good company. And so we sat down at the beginning of that summer and we said, let's start our own. Let's do this. We know the sales. Let's spray as many jobs as they'll let us. Let's try to get into that. Let's learn the operations, learn the technology, and copy everything they're doing, and then do it the right way. And so we spent the whole summer just kind of stealing the playbook. And then year 3 in pest control is when we launched our own.
Is it hard to understand how to do the operations?
No, it's a really simple industry. Hey, dude, here's the address. Go spray their foundation. Introduce yourself first.
So you said in the beginning that it's like some companies have to be licensed to do like rodents or skunks or squirrels or whatever. Do you have to be a certified technician in order to do treatments?
So that's the biggest barrier to entry, and another reason that I love it. Not everyone with a vacuum can start, anyone can start a cleaning company. Pest control, you've got 2 licenses in most states, a lower license and a higher license. The lower license you can test for tomorrow, and that allows you to go and spray for another company. The higher license, you need 3 years of experience. And once you have that higher master license, that's when you can start your own company. So to circumvent that, what we did, I had a family friend who had his higher license and we just rent it from him. So we're 3 years in now and I just barely qualified for my master license like last week. So we can get him off of our books now. But this whole time we've just been under his.
Is that a state by state requirement or is that nationally? You need 3 years for a master license to start a business?
Every state's a little different, but it's usually 2 to 3 years, somewhere in there.
Well, next month, it'll be a year since I started this podcast. I've had over 100 interviews. It's been a ton of fun, but I promised my wife at some point I would decide whether or not this was going to be a business or we would just continue to pay for it out of our pocket. And I'm exploring monetization, to be honest with you. There's not a ton of costs, but I do want to figure out a way to cover the editing and the packaging and the promotion costs of putting this podcast together. So I am looking for sponsors. I don't know what that looks like. If you've enjoyed this podcast and you've ever found some value and you want to sponsor, reach out to me, nick@cofounders.com, and let's get back into it. What did you pay him?
So family friend, the first year he said, I don't know, $50 a month. And I was like, dude, this is so far under market value. Like, this is crazy. And I took a minute to respond and he texted me back and said, I talked to my wife. I'll just do it for free. And we're like, no, dude, I'll give you $600. I'll write a check tomorrow.
Yeah.
A lot of places are charging $1,000 to $1,500 a month. I've seen some guys trying to rent their license for as high as $4,000 a month out in California.
Wow. So in order to qualify for that higher license, you just need 3 years of experience? Or is it very, like what kind of experience are we talking about?
Yeah, no, if you test for that lower license and then you work for a company for 3 years, then you just have to take a second test and get the higher license. And that's it. It's a 70% pass fail.
Dude, that's insane. It's almost like you could start a business for this guy renting out his license.
And that's where it gets tricky. There are stipulations on how many people you can rent to and how many operators you can have under that license. And so that's where they kind of cap it. So you can't just have a huge organization of just renting your license out, but you can rent it out generally to about 3 companies. And if you're charging, a few grand per month per license, like that's not a bad retirement.
My experience is in healthcare, skilled nursing facilities, you have to be a licensed administrator in order to operate them. And many times what will happen is they'll put a new administrator in there who's not licensed yet. And then they'll take the license of an experienced administrator and put it on the wall that he's operating under. But there's a risk to that, right? Like the licensed administrator does have a risk associated with it. Is it the same in pest control? Like did he take on a risk doing that?
Yep. If we get sued for, killing a kid or killing a dog or something, then his license would be at risk and because he is supposed to be supervising and implementing procedures and stuff. So there is some risk in that for him. That's why most people do charge several grand a month.
So if you have one license now that you can put your, I guess, business under, and you said there's like a limit of 2 or 3 businesses that you can do that. Let's say that you wanted to service the state of Colorado. which is where you live, right? And you want to work in Fort Collins, and you want to work in Denver, and you want to work in Aspen, and you want to work in Colorado Springs. And those are 4 places right there. How do you service all of those places if you only have one master license?
Yeah, as long as we've got the one master license, then if all of my technicians pass their easy little test and they're personally certified to spray, then they can go and do that. So we do have a location in Colorado Springs with 2 technicians over there. They're both licensed, so they can do the day-to-day and spray. They just couldn't start their own business. So yeah, you just need the one master license to qualify, and then everyone else needs their little licenses under, and they can be anywhere in the state and still just operate under you.
What if you want to go to, I don't know, Montana, Wyoming?
Yeah. Then I've got two options. Some states you can reciprocate your license. So I'm looking into that now that I just got mine. And if they don't reciprocate it, then you got to start over and either rent from someone or, get a job and get your 3 years of experience.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay. That part's fascinating. I knew nothing about this world. So businesses like these, sticky customers, recurring revenue, high margin, what would you say is the average net margin for a company that operates? So, I mean, your gross margin is insane, but like net income, as on a percentage basis?
Factors like any company are our first year when we did all the work, when we sprayed and did the door to door and everything, we netted 74% that year.
What?
Ridiculous. We worked a lot and we were truly owner operators, but it was good. Now that we're built out more, we've got office people in 2 locations and more overhead. Last year, we were at 28% margin and we grew 100%. We doubled our revenue. So we're looking, if we ever just kind of stabilize, we're targeting hopefully around 40, 45. But a lot of companies kind of in the growth phase, I see a lot of guys target 30% growth and 30% margins.
Okay. So you started this, you're in year 3 of this. What was your revenue as year 1, 2, and 3?
Yeah, year 1, we did 180K revenue in our first 9 months. We started in March. Year 2, we did 475. And then this year we were just over $1 million.
Man, that's amazing. What's your current like monthly revenue?
Current monthly revenue is about 105, 110K through the winter right now because we just closed on the acquisition kind of fall. So it's worst time to buy a pest control company. But we're hoping with a little door-to-door team, and we're hoping to double again this year, do 2 million this year.
2 million.
Yeah.
Okay. And so your net income, you said this last year is 28%. So net income right around $300,000.
Yeah.
Wow. You said earlier, customer acquisition costs for these big companies to come out is essentially 130% of first year's revenue. Is that normal for the rest of the customer acquisition costs that you're currently doing or no?
No. So when we target Google ads and social media, that sort of stuff, we're looking to keep it to about 35%. So we're still cash flow positive that first year. We're willing to spend more, but it's upfront is the other issue. If you're spending it on Google ads, you spend $150 and then you get your customer and they pay you throughout the year. With the door-to-door team, you pay as you go. And so they get the sale and you don't pay the full 130% commission. You give them a little bit up front, then either pay throughout the whole year or you give them a back end in like October and then February. So it's a lot more spread out. So that's another reason why door-to-door is alluring because, you can spread out that customer acquisition cost over a whole year. So door-to-door or for typical customer acquisition, we do try to keep it lower just because it is upfront and because you can blow a budget real quick.
On what?
Ramping up Google ads that aren't working, or putting it into Facebook and spending several grand on a Facebook ad and your phone rings twice from it. And so our bread and butter is the door-to-door. We keep a pretty low marketing budget, and then we just pay door-to-door reps really well just because that's what works best for us.
It's crazy about this business. Really high margins. It doesn't seem exceptionally hard to get into. Obviously, there's a time period that you need to have the master license. If you have the cash, you can pay to acquire customers. How did you get into the business in the first place? Did you start from scratch or did you buy a business?
Yeah, we started from scratch. I bought my first house. My wife and I got married. We bought a house. We didn't have hardly any money left over after that. And so I put $5,000 in. My cousin put in $5,000. We ordered about $8,000 worth of chemicals and put them in my garage, and we started knocking doors. So we've turned $4,000 a piece into about 1.3 million in recurring revenue as of today.
If you were doing it again, would you buy or would you build the same way that you did?
If I had the money to start again, I would buy a bigger, high quality company. There's a lot of small, low quality companies that do not operate like us and are not as high margin or as recurring or as good.
Mm.
And that is one of the ones that we bought. We got it at a really good price, but very different model, very cheap, and not producing the same way. So, and for that reason, I might say build again. And if I had the same amount of cash, honestly, I'd probably build, because you get door to door, you have route density, it's all your systems to implement, and customers are yours from the beginning, and they're happy. Customers don't like change, and so I would probably build.
So going into these new markets in Colorado, are you building from scratch or are you buying?
We only went into one new one in Springs, and we did buy there. Right at the same time that we bought, we did have one door-to-door rep out there that put on a couple hundred accounts for us. So it was a little bit of a mix, but we just bought there mostly.
Do you live in Colorado?
No, I'm currently in Salt Lake City.
How the frick does that work? So your business is in Colorado. You've doubled. I mean, you've gone from, what was it, 100K to 400K to $1 million over 3 years, and you don't even live there?
Yeah. Really lucky, really blessed, but it's a pretty simple industry. It keeps chugging along. My business partner still lives at one of our locations, so he can put out small day-to-day fires. And then about once a month or once every other month, I'll travel back to Colorado and just check on the branches, meet with employees, make sure things are under control. Yeah, then a lot of it is just maintaining what I can over the computer from my office out here.
How do you manage the techs?
They pretty much just self-govern. Through the office, we handle all their scheduling. All they have to do is wake up in the morning, log into their app, see where they're going, and just go and spray, take pictures while they're there, upload it, do the documentation. And like our two in Colorado Springs are just totally by themselves, and they're just self-starters. They know to be at their first appointment at 9, work through the day, go home, let us know when we're running low on inventory, and we ship it directly to the office.
How did you find them?
Indeed.
Really?
Yeah, that's how we found all of our techs.
Have you ever met the guys in Colorado Springs?
I have met one of them. One of them I haven't.
This is crazy. Okay, this is crazy to me. You're managing a workforce remotely that requires them to be sometimes in people's homes.
We run background checks. Everything's good.
No.
They're good people.
No, I'm not worried about that. I'm just saying, like, any employees that you have, it's hard to manage. And anytime you give people a lot of latitude, it's like, oh, maybe they're taking a little bit less time to do their work, or maybe they're, I don't know, stealing supplies. Or anyways, how do you manage? Like that's the hard part that I'm trying to wrap my head around.
We've got really good SOPs. So a couple things that they have to do at every appointment: knock on the door, introduce themselves to the customer if the customer's home. Whether they are or not, they have to take at least 4 pictures. Arrival, showing the house with the address very clear so we know that they're at the right house. They have to take a picture of them knocking down cobwebs, one spraying the foundation, and then one other part of the service. So they have to do at least 4. We also have GPS on all their vehicles. So if I need to, I can check and see, hey, why were you in the back of a Home Depot parking lot for 45 minutes this morning? It sounds shady. Or, what's going on. But
they have company vehicles too?
Oh yeah. No, yeah, we're legit. It's a real company.
I'm not. No. I'm not saying you're not legit. I'm just like,
they've got stickers on them too, not just magnets. They're wrapped, man.
Wow. How often are you checking the GPS? How often are you looking at their notes and their pictures? And are you doing a lot of QA?
Once a week, I'll go through. Our software is great. I can just run an audit and it'll just show all of the technicians, how many services they did and how many they had 1 picture, 2 picture, 3, 4. So it just shows me real clearly so that I can double check on that. I don't check their GPS unless they're way behind on schedule or doing something weird. We're not overly crazy with them, but we just have those safeguards in place and they know that they're there. And that's a big part of it, is saying, hey, I have a GPS. I know when you leave your house, I know where you're at. And so that kind of helps keep them in the lane. Who's
the enforcer, you or your partner?
Me, I'm the bad cop.
Really?
Yeah, he's good cop. I'm the one that does all the firing. I do a lot more of the praising too. He's kind of the middle ground. So I'm the one that usually meets with them and says, hey, you're getting a raise. Hey, you're getting a bonus. And so they like me for that reason. I'm also the one that says, hey, you're on the line. Here's some things we need to improve on, or else you're going to get another call from me and we're going to find a replacement.
So $1 million a year in revenue. How many techs is that?
We've got 5.
So 5 techs. And then do you have any other employees? One
office person.
What do they do?
The office person takes phone calls, does sales, scheduling, full customer service rep. If you call the number on Google, it goes to her and she can handle any problem.
So it's got you and your partner, 5 techs, and then an office person, and that's it.
Yeah.
Weekly, how do you manage operations? Are you pulling those reports and then meeting with each one of your techs, or do you only talk to them when you see something that's out of the norm?
Yeah, I generally just talk to them for one of those two reasons, either to praise them or to get on them. But yeah, as long as everything looks good, I just let them do their thing and let them know, hey, you guys have a lot of freedom. If you keep coming up short, then we're gonna have to go more corporate. And then we do have weekly check-ins and stuff like that.
Do you pay them per visit or do you pay them hourly?
They're on salary.
Oh, they're on salary.
Yep. We let them know, hey, in the summer, you just got to get your jobs done when it's hot. In the winter, you're probably gonna get off early a little bit, but we get the best of the best because we guarantee year-round work and year-round pay. So we don't have people, we get the best employees.
And you've got productivity metrics, I'm sure, that you're looking at. You're like, hey, they got to be seeing 8 houses a day, or like what's that number?
That one I'm not too picky on because that's on us. It's my job to keep you busy. I tell them.
It may be on you, but if you hire 5 techs and then you're like, oh crap, this tech's only doing 2 a day, you've got to make a decision. You're like, oop, my fault. I overhired. I got to let you go. How do you assess whether or not you're adequately staffed, overstaffed, understaffed?
Yeah, so I've got this really rickety Excel spreadsheet from 2022. It has 3 inputs, and it's what we call the magic computer. And I don't know why it's accurate, but it's just good enough. And so I do a lot of my 13-week forecast and the year forecast, and we have a pretty good grip. And that's the reason why I like the industry so much, is because it is so heavily recurring that I can say, okay, we've got about 15 jobs a day per tech. We're good. We don't need to hire. We're rolling. And we haven't overhired yet because we're pretty good on it. And then if me or my business partner do get a little bit too busy, me and him can step in and I can cover the office if we're getting a lot of calls, or he can step in and spray if we need to. So we've got a little bit of flexibility just because we're still willing to be hands-on.
Okay. I don't know is a perfectly fine answer, but I really want to know, what would you expect a tech to do? Like, how many houses per day should a tech be doing if they're adequately staffed?
Yeah, in our primary location where we have heavy door-to-door and good route density, they're knocking out 20 jobs a day. In our other location, a little bit less dense, we have a cap at 15 a day.
Man, this is an interesting business. Oh my gosh. My last question on the business. I didn't realize you have a bunch of company vehicles. So you have 5 company vehicles?
So we actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Because we were planning on a little extra growth, and then we do keep 1 backup vehicle at each location, just in case it gets in a wreck, or there's, you got to have a backup. Yeah. 1 backup at each place, and then we have 2 backups at the other location, just because we didn't overhire, but we did over purchase vehicles.
How do you manage the vehicles? So is that a big capital expenditure? Are you leasing them?
We finance them. So we put down a decent down payment, and then we just finance for as long as term as the bank will let us do.
Hey, how old are you?
I'm 25.
Okay, 25. First of all, congratulations. Building $1 million business is a big deal. Not a lot of people get to the $1 million in revenue. So that part's crazy. Second, you're 25. That's super young. So I'm excited to see where you are in 5 years from now. When did you start paying yourself a reasonable salary?
Define reasonable.
I guess you tell me what reasonable is. I don't know.
Yeah, I can kind of go over our pay. So we're an S Corp and we split 50-50 equity. And so when we started off, the first, it was only about 3 or 4 months that we took 0 pay, because we knew how much we wanted to save 1 month's worth of expenses. And that first year, it was about 10 grand a month were our expenses. And we had 1 employee that kind of started with us. So once we had 10K in the bank, then we looked at our cash flow and we started taking a salary of 3 grand a month each. That's what we did. And then each quarter we take a distribution, whatever's in the bank account, down to 1 month's expenses. So that first year, if we had 25K and our 10K was the bottom, we had 15 in there, we'd split that. So that's just what we do. Our salary, we bump it up a little bit every year. This year, we're paying ourselves like 50K a year. And then if there's money left over every quarter, we take it. If there's not, when we usually skip every spring quarter, and we get about three quarterly payments a year. Okay.
50 grand a year. And then you're taking some distributions. What do the distributions look like? Another 50 grand? More?
Yeah, great question. Anywhere, last September was $1,500 a piece. The September before that was $33,000. So it's truly just whatever it is. So we both have some money saved away in case we grow too fast. but we're trying to keep to where we're making, at least 6 figures a year, 150K a year while we're growing. And then hopefully that'll kind of keep going up as we take the foot off the gas a little.
Okay. How long did it take you to break 6 figures personally?
We did it in year 2. Year 1, we were real close. I mean, in 9 months, we did 180K in revenue, 75% margins. We took home a good chunk. But then year 2, we were over 6 figures. And then this year we were actually just under, but we were fine with it.
That's amazing, man. Well, and it sounds like too, the more cash you can throw at growth, the more you're going to grow. So there's got to be a balance between taking distributions, leaving money in the business to grow the way that you want it to be. What's your goal with the business? Where do you want to get to?
Yeah, we want to get to where each of these 2 locations have at least 5 technicians doing, hopefully close to 2 million at each location. If we can kind of expand throughout Colorado, honestly, if our company gets to be doing 5 to 7 million in revenue, that's where we'll be happy, take the foot off the gas and have a good, hopefully lifestyle business, good cash flow, minimal time input. And I'll be hopefully 30 or early 30s. And
you'll be old.
Yeah, I'll be way past my prime for sure. But that's kind of the goal, 5 to 7 million. I don't want $1 billion company. I mean, I could grind for 40 years and I could grow this pretty big, I think, but I don't want to. I'm having my first kid. Family's important to me. I want to spend time with family and do those things and enjoy life. At the end of the day, I don't want to push it too far.
I love it. All right, man. This was fantastic. Appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, man. Had a blast. Thanks.